Hey guys, coming at you today from my newly renovated kitchen. It's still a work in progress, but I wanted to bring you a recipe that I make for myself all the time, a keto lasagna. So let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, thanks for joining me. My name's Alycia and I'm a pastry chef. I've been a chef most of my life and now I own a keto gluten-free bakery and I'm a mom to a 2-year-old. And I'm here to show you all the tips and tricks on how to make the best recipes possible. So if you enjoy this type of content, please hit the subscribe button down there, give the video a thumbs up, leave me comments, and share with all your friends and family. It all helps my channel grow and to bring you new videos every Saturday. Today, a recipe that I make often and one that I love because I can make all the components and then make a little lasagna for me and do like a kind of ricotta sauce pasta bake for my husband and son. And it makes a lot, so we get lots of leftovers that he can eat throughout the week or for lunches and stuff like that. So I'm gonna use this little guy here today. This is what I usually make my lasagna in. And you might be asking what I use for my pasta. I love this Natural Heaven pasta. I get it in the lasagna noodles, the angel hair pasta, and the rice. And I've been using this for a long time. And I tried to get my mom to use it too, but I bought her the Palmini brand, which I don't think is as good as the Natural Heaven. This one is like softer. They're not like crunchy noodles like the ones in the can from Palmini. They were kind of crunchy and they don't get soft or anything. So I love Natural Heaven brand specifically. And I'm gonna get a little bit fancy today with my sauce. Well, half fancy, because I wanna make like a meat sauce for the lasagna, but I do have some ground lamb. I thought, well, we used to make bolognese all the time at the club I worked at. So I was thinking of making kind of a mock bolognese sauce. I don't have all the components, but we're gonna wing it. You can really go as simple or as complicated as you want with this recipe. I'm just giving you one version. You can use a jar sauce with some ground beef and that's it, or you can make this. But since we are making sauce, that's where we're gonna start today. I did grab out my induction cooktop. I'm hoping this isn't gonna be too loud for you. There's like a fan in there and it kind of has a buzzing sound. So I hope you can't hear that. But I'm gonna turn that on in a minute after I get my onion chopped. Normally in a bolognese, you put celery, carrots, and onion into a food processor and blend it all down. I'm not gonna do that because I don't have carrots and celery. One, carrots are kind of high in carbs and we just don't eat them enough to keep them around the house. So I'm just gonna make a very simple bolognese today, just adding a couple of little additions to make it a little bit more fancy and flavorful. It's gonna take some getting used to being in this new setup kitchen. So now my garbage is back there. I'm gonna have to start doing the Rachel Ray thing and have a garbage bowl next to me. So I'm chopping up one medium onion. Now that half of it's chopped up, I'm gonna turn this on. You want it on a low heat because you wanna sweat these onions out real good and get them nice and translucent. Put in a little bit, tablespoon or two of extra virgin olive oil. I do have some garlic cloves, but they have not been great. Most of them had brown yucky spots in them and stuff. I wish I had a can of diced tomatoes, but I am using a jar of roasted garlic sauce, so we don't need a ton of garlic in our mix. I'm gonna get those all coated in some oil and let them sweat out. I always just smash my garlic. Whenever I'm cooking, I always like to season my stuff as I go, like season every layer of the dish. So to the onions, I'm gonna sprinkle in some salt and pepper. My mom got me this salt server. It's very fancy, but I like the gray Celtic sea salt, a little bit of pepper. I'll continue to salt and pepper as we add things in too. So for the extra ingredients, I am going to use some tomato paste. I have a thing of beef bone broth, and I have some anchovies, which a lot of places use like anchovy paste. I just have whole anchovies for if I go to make a homemade Caesar dressing. I have these on hand and they're in oil, so they last a long time. That's really it for the extra fancy ingredients. Some Italian seasoning. You can add a bay leaf if you want, which I think I'm fresh out of bay leaves. Onions are looking good. You don't add the garlic to the onions at the same time. You let your onions sweat a little bit more before you add the garlic, because garlic can burn and get bitter if you cook it too much. So you just want to add that when these are almost all done, just to get them a little bit flavorful in there, and then you're going to add your other ingredients. And we are going to add a tiny bit of sweetener to this. I usually just use allulose whenever I'm cooking anything with heat because it doesn't crystallize when it cools. Our onions are almost done in there. Once they look like that, almost translucent, add in your garlic. The next going in is whatever ground meat you're using. Ground lamb, ground chicken, ground beef, whatever you'd like. As soon as you start smelling the garlic, that's when you add your meat. Wash my hands, make sure you get it all broken up and brown it up real nice in there. Now what's in a traditional bolognese is a red wine, but I don't have red wine on hand. If you do want to use that, make sure you get a dry red wine, but I'm going to use the beef broth instead. And we are going to simmer this for about 30 minutes while we get the rest of our ingredients ready. So that's why we started this first. I'm going to open up my can of tomato paste. We just need a couple of tablespoons, which I should probably check my refrigerator to make sure I don't have any open yet. And we're going to add our anchovies before we add any liquid to our sauce. I do have tomato paste open. Let's see if it's still good. It does take a while for it to go bad because it's so acidic. That should be enough. You want to cook that out a little bit before you add liquid to get like the tinny taste out of it and to like kind of make the flavors bloom of the tomato paste. Measure out this bone broth for you. About half a cup in there. Along with the fact that it's a little bit less fat, I want to keep trying to give my toddler different meats and flavors and stuff like that. So that's another reason why I bought some different stuff. I've been eating a little bit more pork, trying to do a little bit more fish, lamb, stuff like that. He's had lamb before, but it was when he was like real little. So it's not something we have very often. So I wanted to kind of remember to keep introducing him to different things. We haven't seasoned this layer of things yet, so I'm gonna add some more pepper. I'm gonna add some Italian seasoning. I'm gonna hold off on the salt for a bit just because we have anchovies and they are kind of salty. And I also try to cook with less salt now too because I have a 2-year-old, so we tend to add more salt at the table than when we're actually cooking. Once it's just about all cooked in there, we're gonna add in the anchovies to break down. Add 1, 2. Add 2 fillets for now. Along with 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. That's about what we had. Kick up the heat a little bit, try to get it a little bit browned up in there. And then we're gonna deglaze with our beef stock. My chef also used to add nutmeg to the bolognese. I'm not a fan of nutmeg, so I'm not gonna be doing that. But I believe it's very traditional at the end to add a little bit of like freshly grated nutmeg. All the anchovies are gone. I might add 1 more tablespoon of tomato paste. Might as well just add what I got left here. There we go. Starting to get thick in there. Smells delicious in here. I'm gonna add in about a half tablespoon of allulose to start. Everything's to taste for this. Gonna add in our bone broth. And here's where I'd add a can of diced or crushed tomatoes. I believe they're usually about like 14 ounces. So I'm definitely not gonna use all this because this is 25, but I'm gonna do just enough to kind of cover the meat. That looks good. I left about a cup in there, so hear that high-pitched Wheeling. Hope you guys can't hear it. Here it's starting to bubble. I'm gonna give it a little taste and see if we need to add anything right now. I always taste as I go and know where I'm at. That's good. Tastes delicious. It may need a little bit more salt, but I'm gonna wait till the end because we are gonna reduce this down a little bit when we simmer it. You're basically evaporating the water when you simmer, so your flavors are gonna concentrate. Let's add a simmer. I'm gonna turn it as low as I can go, but still be at a simmer, which should be about 200 degrees, you'd think, because boiling is 212 for water anyways. I'm gonna pop a lid on it, but keep it kind of off so that the water that's boiling off can evaporate. We're gonna stir that every couple of minutes. Now on to making the ricotta filling and working with these hearts of palm lasagna sheets. I turned it down one more notch because it was splattering everywhere. But I got some paper towels and this is how the hearts of palm comes. It's like vacuum sealed in here. So I just cut it open and I usually do it over the sink. I have a bowl right here. I'm just going to squeeze some of the extra liquid out. I don't find I need to rinse these or anything. Some people have said that of the Palmini brand. I just suggest if you're gonna cook them on the stove, cook them in like a dry pan and then add oil and whatever seasonings you want. For the lasagna, I just make sure they're nice and dry. And I'm probably not gonna need this whole pack. And what I like to do is rip them up and kind of use them as I would an egg noodle because I love like beef stroganoff and stuff like that. And this works really well for that. They kind of remind me of the taste of an artichoke. Pretty mild flavor. We'll just keep these guys. So I just keep them in a Ziploc bag in my fridge and I'll use them for a carby addition to one of my meals this week. And I just take another towel, pat them dry. That's it. So I am going to be making my son and husband a chickpea pasta with this sauce and dollops of the ricotta that I'm going to use for the lasagna. And I make them an 8x8 and it's enough for like a dinner and at least 2 lunches and a couple dinners for my son too. All done. Sound like I'm talking to a kid now. Yeah, mom life. So those are ready to go. Stack them up back here. Then we just got to get the ricotta filling made up. Ricotta filling is something I don't usually like measure anything. I add an egg, ricotta, seasonings, cheese, and that's about it. I am gonna try to measure for you guys today though. Let me see how much we use. I can maybe get macros for you guys. I didn't even mention, for almost half the box, it is 2 net carbs, 4 carbs, 2 fiber. For the whole thing is 6 carbs. So it's very, very low carb. And this sauce I'm using, in case you're interested, I get it from Thrive. It's 4 carbs for a half a cup. Okay, now let's get our ricotta ready. So I have this whole milk ricotta here. It was the lowest carb I found, and it's pretty much the cheapest I found at Walmart. I'm gonna do 2 cups, which would be 16 ounces. Try to avoid a lot of the soft stuff at the top. I'll start by measuring stuff out, but I usually just shake. Maybe a little bit over a quarter. I just always just grab and sprinkle. Do a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. 1/2 teaspoon of Italian seasoning. If you want to taste as you go, don't add the egg until you're ready to go. Unless you don't care, which I normally don't. I just usually try it. Starting to get thick at the bottom. I always add chopped onion and garlic to my lasagna ricotta. That's just what I do. You don't have to. I like a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic. Tastes yummy. Needs a little bit of salt, but we're adding the mozzarella and I'm gonna add some parm. I just bought a big block of whole milk mozzarella at our box store, which is BJ's. So I'm gonna have to grate this into here. About 4 ounces. We are gonna need more to put on the top. About 2 tablespoons of parm. And then to that, we're just gonna add 1 egg. Sorry if you see tons of shadows. I'm still gonna have to work on lighting in here, I think. I was hoping it would be easy, but of course, it's never easy. So that's all set to go. We're just gonna grate some more mozzarella to go on top of our lasagna. It's been simmering for about 15 minutes, so I'm gonna turn my oven to 350 just to get all this stuff cooked and harmonious in the pan and get the cheese nice and brown on top. Okay, we've been simmering for almost 30 minutes. And all nice and thick in there. I'm gonna go a little bit longer. Our oven is preheated. Now, since I'm making such a little lasagna, 350, no cover on it or anything, should be fine. If you're making a bigger one, you want to tin foil it and cook it for a while and then take the foil off and brown it up. Also, if you make this the day ahead, you can make this the day ahead. You can even freeze it and bake it later. You're gonna want it covered, and I would bring it out of the refrigerator while your oven is preheating to let it kind of acclimate to room temperature a little bit, and then you're gonna have to bake it longer covered and then uncover it to broil it. I always just use a thermometer and make sure it's like over 165 degrees inside. You're good to go. I always spray the pan. So we're gonna start with layering these guys down. I love this dish, and it's like perfect for this. Oh, that guy's missing some. Only use the nice ones. I'm gonna do a 1/4 cup down on the bottom, about that. Need a little bit more than that. Just do a nice, not super huge layer, because you don't want this all falling apart on you when you go and cut into it. Can you tell I'm impatient? I want to make it already. I can try it. Okay, that'll have to do for now. We're gonna let that cook a little bit longer until it's not liquidy on top anymore. Okay, I think we're good. Still gotta taste it for seasoning, so I'll do that now. A little pinch of salt. Delicious. Okay, add on a layer of sauce. I do try to keep ours less saucy because you might get a little bit of liquid out of the hearts of palm. It's not like regular pasta in that way. I do a little sprinkle of mozzarella. I just like to add mozzarella so everything kind of holds together real good. Another layer of the pasta. Now, what I like about these is you can literally just rip them. So I like to do that for when I want to have like egg noodles. Nice even layer. A little bit more cheese. I will try to figure out the macros for you guys. I only eat one meal a day, and then what I eat during the day is usually me testing things. And it's like a bite here, a bite there. So I don't usually worry too much about carbs. Yeah, that induction burner is really loud. I think I'm gonna have to get something different. A little bit more sauce on top, and then mozzarella. So all this stuff would be plenty for an 8x8 also, if you want to make that. You can also portion it up and freeze it after you bake it too, and then have it kind of like a lasagna, you know, microwave TV dinner kind of thing. I am going to put this on a sheet pan just in case it boils up while it's cooking. Okay, popping this in the oven. Oh, really? Sorry guys, my overhead stopped shooting because my phone was full. But we just kept doing the same thing. This is going into the 350 degree oven, probably about 20 minutes. I'm gonna do 10, turn it 10, and if it's done on the inside, I might just broil it up and it'll be all ready to go. Okay, that was 20 minutes. We're about 120, so do another 10 minutes, and I want the top to get all nice and crispy. Okay, that has been 30 minutes, and all bubbly. This thermometer takes forever. 140 and climbing. I'm gonna do a tiny broil on it. Okay, that's probably only like 2 minutes or so. Unfortunately, I gotta wait for this to cool a little bit before I slice into it, because it's gonna be way too hot and pretty runny before you let it chill for a little bit. Okay, it has been chilling for a while. I kind of estimated the macros on it a little bit, but I figured the whole thing is 24 carbs with all the cheese and the tomato paste and the sauce and all that stuff. And it probably could be 3 meals, because like half of this is kind of a lot. But yeah, I only eat 1 meal a day, so it all depends on what you guys do. But I'm thinking thirds. That paired with one of my Italian herb rolls, be perfect for dinner. Or a salad. Might still be too hot. It's always usually messy, no matter what. Cheese. Not cut all the way through. I'm feeling I'm not going to get a good picture for a thumbnail. Still steamy. Yeah, sauce probably could have cooked a little bit while longer. Let's give it a taste. Noodles cut fine with a fork, but for some reason a knife is kind of a pain to cut. That's delicious. Sauce has a lot of good depth of flavor, even though we used a jarred sauce. We added all the extra stuff in there. It's super good. I know there's a lot of alternatives for pasta out there that you can make yourself, or you can just use deli meat. There's a lot of options, but I prefer this option. I've also made the zucchini lasagna, but that one involves salting the zucchini and getting as much water out as possible, and you still tend to get kind of a liquidy result. But it's delicious. I always look for sales on Natural Heaven, and I stock up when I can. And this isn't an everyday thing. A lot of times I'll just eat the meat and sauce without any noodles or pasta or anything like that. This is nice to have once in a while, like a real piece of lasagna. Super good. So I hope you guys enjoy this recipe and you make it for yourself, or you make a variation, or you use a different kind of noodle substitute and just make the delicious lamb bolognese. It definitely spruces up your keto meal to make a little bit fancier of a sauce. Don't forget to check out my Amazon shop page. The link is down in the description box below, along with the blog link to the full recipe. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, I'll be back with more keto, low carb, healthy meals, desserts, and snack recipes. Bye guys. Happy keto cooking.